Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I'm Rajdeep. I'm the co-founder and CEO at ReWiser. I'm going to take you through the entire presentation today. And as you all are aware, for today's topic, we're going to talk about AP under the microscope. So we'll try and talk about study abroad broadly in the first 5 to 10 minutes. And then we will deep dive into AP as a specific exam. Who should be taking it? When should you be taking it? Should you be even taking it or not? Why should you be taking it? I think these are the questions that we would try and answer through the presentation today. I think I'm going to take you through the presentation for the first 30 to 40 minutes. And post that, we will open the forum for Q&As. Feel free to put in all your questions in the chat section, and we will take up all the questions towards the later half, right? So that's going to be the format for today's session. With that, let me quickly start with the presentation. Just a quick brief about ReWiser. So we are a high school support companies which assist students worldwide achieve their high school academic goals. We start working with students as early as grade 8. So we have students starting from grade 8, 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Within the company, we have two major verticals. The first one is test prep, where we focus on SATs, ACTs, and AP exam prep. And then we have the other vertical, which is in the academic tutoring domain, where we do IGCSE, IB, and A-level subject tutoring. So these are the two major areas that we work on. We've been in the industry for the last 7 years now. We have helped about 4,000 odd students go outside of India. And currently, we operate out of a couple of cities across India. And at the same point of time, we also have students from across the globe, US, UAE, Indonesia, Singapore, and so on and so forth. With that, so that's a key takeaway from the webinar, which, as I've said, we'll talk about what are AP examinations, the benefits, what's the structure of exam, how the scoring happens, what is the score distribution across different subjects over the last few years, what are some tips and tricks that you can use to ace these exams, what's the right major, how do you figure out which is the right AP for the child. And at the end, we'll also talk about how ReWiser as a company can help students prepare for these exams. So we will talk about all of this in the webinar. The first thing I think to start off with is, how is study abroad different from, let's say, study in India, right? So if you really look at when we are looking to go outside of India, they're not just relying on, let's say, your grade 12 scores or any specific exam, unlike in India, right? In India, you have, let's say, if you want to pursue engineering, you have IIT. You will write JEE. If you want to do medicine, you will write NEET. If you want to do law, you would probably write CLAT and so on and so forth. However, when you're looking to go outside of India, and let me talk about specifically, let's say, US, Canada, Singapore, these geographies, you might end up writing certain specific exams, which is, for example, SATs or ACTs, which are required irrespective of the major that you want to go outside, right? So that's standardized testing. So we generally say that when you're looking to go outside of India, there are 4 major pillars that you should be thinking in your brain, and that's how you should start preparing and planning yourself, right? The first and the most important pillar is academics, which is equally important even if you want to stay in India, right? So academics, the only difference that happens here is they are not just looking at your grade 12th academics, they will also look at your grade 9, grade 10, grade 11 actual scores and your grade 12 predicted score. So they're going to look at your 4 years of academic scoring, right? So that's the first pillar. The second pillar that you will encounter is the standardized test scores, which is your SATs, ACTs, IELTS, TOEFL. APs also come under this section, which is your standardized test. And that's one of the tests that we will deep dive into today. So that's the second pillar. And then the third important pillar is your profile building. And I'm sure a lot of you probably would have heard about it. And, I'm sure you have different notions about profile building, right? So for some of you, profile building is internship, research work, blog writing, community service, and so on and so forth, right? So that's profile building. But if I have to summarize it, if in case a student wants to pursue a particular major in college, how can you show to the college that you are interested in a particular major? How can you show that you are genuinely interested towards this major? And these are the things that you have done to showcase your interest, right? So all of that activities that you will end up doing across 3 to 4 years of your journey will help you in your profile building activities. So that is profile building for you, right? So that's the third component. And then the fourth pillar is nothing but the college application, which happens only in grade 12th, which include shortlisting of universities, writing essays, writing letter of recommendations, and so on and so forth. So that's the last pillar that you will encounter, which only happens in grade 12. So these are 4 major pillars that you really need to focus on when you're looking to go outside of India. And irrespective of whatever geography, whether it's US, UK, Canada, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, they all will look at all of these four pillars. However, the weightage of these four pillars can vary. For example, if you look at US, academics is almost about, let's say, 50% of your overall application. And in the remaining 50, you have your standardized test, which is maybe, let's say, 15%, profile building, another 15%, and maybe your college application, another 15 to 20%, which includes your essays and everything else, right? However, if you look at, let's say, UK for that matter, in UK, academics would probably be 70 to 80% of your profile, and 20% is your college application, your essays, right? So profile building and standardized test is standardized test is almost irrelevant in UK. Profile building is a little bit relevant, but mostly irrelevant there, right? So I think depending on which country you're looking at, these four pillars weightage would change. However, they all four are important in different geographies, right? So these are the four major pillars. However, keeping the time constraint that we have today, we will only be talking about AP as an exam, and let's try and deep dive into this, right? So to start with, what are APs, right? So AP stands for Advanced Placement Courses, right? So that's the full form of AP. It's conducted by the same organization which conducts SAT exam, which is College Board. College Board is a US-based entity which conduct these exams. However, there is one major difference between SAT and APs, or ACT and AP, that AP happens only once a year. And that is super important for you to note, because planning of APs becomes super critical at this point of time. AP happens only during the month of May. However, in the month of May, you have two different timelines. One, which is a regular testing that happens in the first 2 weeks of May. And second, which is a late testing that happens towards the last 2 weeks of May. So you could either apply for a regular testing or a late testing, depending on your exam cycle, the time slot that works for you, and so on and so forth. So that's the timeline for the APs. However, what are APs? So if you really look at it in US, unlike in India, we have CBSE, ICSE, all of these curriculum, which are pretty much like a nationalized curriculum, right? However, in US, they don't have any nationalized curriculum. Every state follows their own curriculum. They devise their own curriculum every year. And hence, they saw the need to have something which will help them standardize it all across. And that's when AP came into existence. That's one thing. Second, almost about 2 to 3 years back, there used to be something called subject SAT. So SAT is testing your English and math skill. However, there was nothing to test your maths, physics, chemistry, bio, your other skill set, right? At that point of time, there used to be something called subject SAT, which are no longer being offered by College Board. And hence, AP has gained a lot more popularity, because by writing APs, you can show to the college that you are good at particular subject as well. So these are the reasons why people are writing APs at this point of time. They're almost like a college level exam, and hence they are far more difficult than an SAT or an ACT or IELTS or a TOEFL or any of the other exam. And hence it also requires a lot of time, effort that one has to put in. In US, students actually do these courses while they are in school itself. So they will, let's say if they're taking 3 subjects from school, they can take 4 of APs in the school itself. So that becomes part of their school curriculum. However, in India, we don't have that flexibility, and we will have to write AP as a private candidate, right? So you cannot write APs as a regular candidate. You will have to write APs only as a private candidate, which is in the month of May. The registration for APs closes by 2nd week of November, which is almost 2 months away from now. So I think that is also super important. And then there is something called late registration, which is almost in the month of March. But please be aware that you can only register during the month of March if at all, there are seats available. If the seats are filled up completely, then you may not be allowed to register for the late testing. So these are the 2 registration deadlines or timelines that you should be aware of. Currently, there are about 38 AP subject options which are available for one to pick from. And all these 38 subjects are being broken down into 7 different subject categories. And these are those 7 categories. So you have AP Capstone Diploma Program, you have arts, you have English, history, social science, maths, computer science, sciences, AP world language and culture. So these are 7 different subject categories that you will encounter, in which all the other 38 subjects are being incorporate it into. However, if you really look at in India, there are only about 25 to 28 subjects which are offered in India. There are a lot of languages which are not being offered in India. So though there are, as I said, there are about 38 AP subjects which are optional. However, in India, you may not have all 38 available. So it's important for you to figure out the city where you are in, the school where you want to write it, and what are the AP subjects that they are offering, right? So all 38 are not offered in India. Plus, out of the remaining as well, it depends on the center, which are the exam that they want to offer. So it is important for you to check which are the colleges which are offering or schools which are offering AP testing in your society, in your locality, in your city. And B, also to check which are the subjects that they are offering, because it is a school dependent phenomenon. So I think that's an important part. Now, since we have understood and have some basic understanding of what APs are, let's try and understand why should one be writing it, right? I think that's a very important question. So I think let's try and understand a few things here, right? So one of the most important reason why students have started writing more and more APs is because they want to stand out in the admission process. They want to show to the college that they have done more than what their peers have done, right? Because as I said, AP is a rigorous curriculum in itself. If you do well in APs, you are showing to the college that you're good in a particular subject. Now, the question may arise that I'm anyways doing a subject in school, then why do I have to do it, right? And to answer that, let me break it down into two different components. If I am doing an international curriculum in India, which is, let's say, IB or A levels, the subjects that I do in school are much more widely recognized because this curriculum is more widely recognized in US as well. And hence, they also give you college credit for the courses that you're doing. Let's say if you're taking an IBHL maths, you will end up getting certain credits for your IBHL math as well. However, if you're coming from a CBSE, ICSE, or any state board curriculum, you will not get any college credit for the grade 10, grade 12, or grade 11 subjects that you have done in school. B, the curriculum may not be considered as rigorous as what an IB or A-level curriculum is, right? So it generally helps you to stand out in your college application process. That's one of the reasons why students write it, because they want to show that they have done more than what their peers have done. Now, in that, another important point to note, if you do 3 APs, you become AP scholar. And if you do 4 APs, you get AP honors. So it is important, if you're planning to write APs, see if you are in grade 9th or grade 10, then try and see if you can write 3 or if you can plan for 4, because that will also help you to fetch an honors or a scholar, AP scholar degree as well. So that's one. Second, as I mentioned earlier, it also helps you to earn college credit. Now, what is this? If you really understand the US education system or Canada or Singapore, it all works on credit-based system. So if in case I want to do, let's say, mechanical engineering, to graduate as a mechanical engineer, I need to gain, let's say, 120 college credits. Every subject that I will do over the next 4 years will have certain credits attached to it, right? So I will have to do that many number of subjects which are required or relevant to gain enough college credits for that subject, right? Now, if in case you are doing AP while you are in India itself, you earn college credit if you gain certain level of score. For example, let's take an example of AP Calculus. AP Calculus BC is one of the exam which is offered under AP. If you take this exam and if you get a 5 on 5 in AP, you almost get 8 college credits, right? So you actually get college credit without even going to college. And these are transferable credits. That's the beauty, right? And it helps in multiple ways, because you have earned these college credits. You don't have to do the same course when you are in college. You can actually skip the maths semester 1, semester 2, and semester 3 maths course, because you already have enough credit for those courses. So A, it helps you to graduate early. B, it also helps you to save tuition fees, because now you have earned 8 college credits. You don't have to pay for these college credits when you are in college. So it also helps you to save some money. So there are different reasons why people write these AP exams. As I mentioned, one of the most important reason is you want to show to the college that you've done more than what your peers have done. You want to strengthen your profile, your overall profile, which is more academically oriented. Second, you're doing it because you want to earn college credits, which indirectly helps you to save money and also to graduate early. Or in some cases, students don't want to graduate early, but they want to do a minor in a particular subject. That also helps you to do a minor within the 4-year degree itself. So these are different reasons why people write APs. And I think it's super important at this point of time to set up this fact that should you be writing, should you not be writing it. Another important point that I want to discuss here is, please remember, please note, AP is not a must-do thing. Anybody who says you have to do an AP, that's not right. AP is a good to do thing. You should only do APs if you are looking to target, let's say, top 20, 30, 40 universities. If you are not looking to target the top universities, you should probably not look at the APs. That's one. Second, you should only write the APs if your academics are in place. If your academics are not in place, if you're getting, let's say, 60% score in academics and writing AP, it may not really make so much sense. Instead, if you're getting, let's say, an 80%, 85%, 90%, then writing AP would still make sense. I would say if you're not able to do well right now in academics, focus on academics and don't think about APs. So that is my first advice, whether you should be writing it or should not be writing it. Assuming you have decent grades in school and then you're thinking about APs, then think about why you need to write it, because based on that, when you should be writing is also being decided, right? And we will talk about it in the next couple of slides. Now, since we have set up this fact about why you should be writing it, and I'm assuming all the participants who are still staying, they have figured out that they want to write it. Now, let's try and understand the AP exam structure a little bit, right? So the duration, first and foremost thing, every subject has a different exam structure. There is no one structure that is being followed across the subjects. So that's one. Hence, it could be anywhere between 2 to 3 hour long exam. You will have generally 2 sections in every subject. One of them is multiple choice question. So exam score is based on the number of questions that you answer correctly. Second is the free response question, wherein you have to literally write your entire answer, right? And which is being checked manually by an examiner. So unlike SATs or ACTs, which is purely MCQ based, APs are not just MCQ based. They also have a free response part, wherein you have to write your answer explanation. That's one of the major difference between the 2 exams that you will encounter. You can also write multiple exams on the same day, as long as they're not overlapping and they're not happening at the same time. So you do have that option also. So that's about the exam. Now let's try and understand how the scaling works. I think I've already spoken about it. AP is scored on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest score, 5 being the highest score. Your target should be to get at least a 4 or a 5. That should be your target. 3 is also okay, but anything less than 3 is not acceptable. I mean, if you get anything less than 3, you might as well not submit your scores. It's not gonna do any good. Rather, it might end up harming your entire application, right? Because it shouldn't happen that you're getting a 90% in school and you get a 2 on 5 here in AP in the same subject, and then the college will start questioning whether your curriculum that you're doing is good enough for you to pursue things outside of India, right? And hence, if you're writing APs, your target should be 5. If not 5, 4. Anything less than that probably is not worth it. However, the good part here is to get 5 on 5, you don't have to get 100% score, right? You can get a 5 on 5 even if you get about 80-85% score, though obviously it varies from subject to subject. But by and large, if you're able to score about 80 to 85%, you will get a 5 on 5, right? So you're not targeting 100% to get a 5 on 5. That's another advantage that you have in APs, unlike your SATs or the ACTs, where you have to get everything right to get a perfect score. Now, I think let's try and understand. So I think what we have understood so far is what are APs? Should you be writing it? Should you not be writing it? What are the benefits? Why one even think about writing it? What's the exam pattern? How does scoring really works? Now, let's try and understand another important question. I'm assuming, by now we have decided we want to write it. But if you want to write it, which are those subjects that we should pick? Because I already said there are 38 AB subjects, out of which about 20-25 are being offered in India. Out of all these subjects, which are the right APs for you? I think over the next 5-10 minutes, I'm going to focus purely on helping you understand which is the right AP subject for you, right? I think that is a very important question. I will talk about it in the general format. However, it is more of a one-on-one personalized discussion, which is required to finalize the subjects. Feel free to reach out to us. Happy to do it one-on-one with you guys. The team can really set up a call with you and help you understand which are the right APs and help you set up a 2-year, 3-year plan in terms of when you should be doing which AP. Right? But how do we figure out which is the right AP? Let's try and look at that. So we generally say, look at 3 different parameters, right? One of them is look at the score distribution, right? Because we also have to play it smart, right? We also need to figure out where is it easier to score high, right? When we are deciding a subject. So if you look at the score distribution, I've picked up 2020 score distribution. You will see a couple of them which I've marked with green and a couple of them which I've marked with red. So just focus on that. So for example, in English AP, English literature and composition, the 515 percentage is only 9.3. That means 9.3% student across the globe who wrote this exam got a 515, which is actually a very small number. Similarly, in the sciences, if you look at biology, only 9.5, physics one only 8.8. So obviously it's a smaller number. However, if you look at electricity, magnetism, physics C and physics C mechanics, almost about 40% student got a 515. I'm not saying every year it's going to be the same percentage, but by and large, the trend would be same. And hence, that means it's advisable to do AP physics, mechanics, or electricity, magnetism because it is slightly easier to do well in these subjects as opposed to biology and physics one. So I think that's an important key takeaway from the sciences part. Similarly, let's say if you look at maths and computer science, AP Calculus BC, almost about 45% student got a 515 versus AP Computer Science Principles where only 10.9% student got a 515, which is obviously a smaller percentage. So it's advisable to do AP Calculus BC instead of, let's say, AB or even statistics, if in case you're purely looking at the scoring part. Similarly, if you look at humanities side, microeconomics, almost 23% got a 515. World history, only 9% got a 515. So it is AP world history is difficult to score. And hence you want to be very, very careful if you want to pick this subject. Instead, you can probably look at psychology, which is almost 23% student got a 515. And it is also considered as a humanities subject. So if you have really looked at it, basically the green infers that the chances of you getting a 515 is much higher and red represent the chance of you getting 515 is much lower. And hence that becomes one of an important criteria to figure out which is the right AP for you to pick. So I think that's the first important part. Now, the second thing is how do we figure out based on the major and career? So some of you probably would have decided which is the major that you want to do in college. And that becomes an important criteria for us to figure out which are the APs that you should be thinking about writing. So when you go to the AP College Board website, they themselves provide this platform where you can actually put in all of these details, where you can select the major. So you want to do it based on the major. You can select a subject area. For example, let's take science, maths, and technology. And then you figure out which is the major that you're looking, right? So let's say here, let's take an example of maybe, let's say mechanical engineering, right? So if I want to do mechanical engineering, that's something that I've figured out that that's the major that I want to do. I want to figure out what are the APs which a mechanical engineering student should ideally be doing. Here are the list of 8 AP courses: AP Biology, Calculus AP, BC Chemistry, Computer Science Principle. These are 8 different AP courses which are relevant for anybody who is doing mechanical engineering. And these are several career options which are available if you end up doing mechanical engineering. And this is something which is already available on AP College Board website. You can go and play with it. Depending on the major that you're planning to pursue, you can figure out which is the right AP for you. So one is based on the score distribution, which is the easier one to crack. Second, based on the major that you plan to do in college, you can work backwards and figure out which is the right AP. But I'm pretty sure most of us are not very clear what major we want to do. But don't get disheartened. That's with a lot of students. But there are other methods to find it out. Let's say if in case you have certain set of colleges in your mind, right? So let's say I have a list of 20 colleges in my mind, and I'm pretty sure that I will only go to these colleges. Otherwise, I will stay in India and pursue my undergrad here. In that case, AP also provides another link where you could search based on the college. So you can actually look at the college credit policy. So for example, you can select the college here. Let's say, let's take an example, maybe Stanford, right? So let's take an example of Stanford University. So if you want to pursue undergrad in Stanford, which are the AP courses which are relevant, right? Irrespective of the major that you want to do. So these are the list of all the AP courses which are relevant if you want to pursue undergrad in Stanford, right? Now, I think if you remember in the beginning, I spoke about AP Calculus BC, right? So if you look at it, AP Calculus BC in Stanford, if you get a 5 on 5 in AP Calculus BC, you will get 10 college credits. So you will earn 10 college credits while you are in India itself. If you get a 4 on 5, you get 8 college credits. Hence, I said it's either 4 or 5. Anything below that may not be useful to you. If you get a 5 on 5, maths 19, 20, 21. That means SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3 maths courses are something that you can skip because AP Calculus BC is considered to be equivalent to these 3 courses. Similarly, AP Calculus BC, if you get a 4 on 5, you can skip the first 2 maths courses, but you will still have to do the third math course. So that's the other advantage. So these are the 3 different ways in which we kind of figure out which is the right AP for you, or you can go back and figure it out for yourself. However, for us, the way we do it is very simple. I think we need few details. One is the child is in which grade, the child is in which curriculum, and what is the major that they want to do. Let's take an example, right? So if a parent comes to me and say the child is in grade 10th right now, the child is doing CBSE board, and the child wants to pursue, let's say, computer science engineering, right? If that's the combination that we have, then in our case, our recommendation would be the child is already in grade 10. That means you have only 2 attempts to write the APs, one after grade 10, another one after grade 11, right? So that means if you want to target 4 APs, then you have to do 2 after 10th and 2 after 11. And this child is in CBSE board. So I'm keeping that in mind. Then my recommendation would be you should be doing AP Calculus BC. You should be doing AP Physics C Mechanics. So these are 2 you should definitely be doing, and these can be done after your grade 11th, right? So these are the 2 APs that you should be doing right after your grade 11. After your grade 10, the other 2 APs that you should target maybe AP Computer Science Application. That could be one of the APs that you can target. And the other APs could be a psychology, could be a world history, could be statistics. Now, that could vary from student to student depending on what are their interest areas, right? The reason why I said psychology, you might be thinking, how is computer science related to psychology? But if you really look at US admission system, they also like to see something which is in the humanities domain. And hence, psychology is something, or world history is something that I'm recommending. So that's how we help you take a call in terms of which are the right APs that you should be picking up. How to ace the AP test? I think there is no magic there. Start early, start soon, start as soon as possible. You have about 8 months if you want to write AP in May 2024. Utilize the study material, take as many practice tests as possible, maintain a schedule, make sure you're doing it regularly, because remember, your school exams are happening, everything else is happening. You are doing it in addition to the school. So you will have to maintain your own curriculum, your own schedule if you really want to do well. Ask for help. If you think you're not able to do it on your own, ask for help, reach out to companies like us and see if we could be of any help. Study with other students, find out a group of students who are writing the same subject and see if you can share your resources material, because it's also very, very difficult to find the right set of material and resources for the AP particular exam, right? So I think these are few suggestions in terms of how you can crack these exams. Now, in terms of understanding the timelines, as I've said in the beginning, there were 4 pillars. One of them was academic, grade 9, 10th, 11th, 12th. So super important. Second pillar is profile development, which is again happening across the 4 year. The third pillar is your college application, which is happening in grade 12th. Now, the 4th pillar that you have, which we talk about, was standardized testing. Now, specifically when you talk about APs, you can write APs in grade 9. That means after your grade 9th exams, or in grade 10, that means after your grade 10th exam, or after your grade 11. You can also write it after your grade 12th. But when you write it after your grade 12th, remember, you are not doing it for college application purpose now. You're purely doing it for college credit, because by the time you would already know which college you are going for, right? And hence you are picking up specific APs purely for college credit purposes. So these are different years when you could do the APs. AP scores are valid for 5 years. So don't worry whether the scores would be valid or not. If you write it 9, 10th, 11th, they would definitely be valid for the 5 years. Now, coming to the last bit where, what we have to offer here, we start our programs. So we have both we actually have 3 different offerings. So we have an AP one-on-one program, We have an AP group program and we have an AP Lite program. AP Lite is nothing but where you get our entire content that we do in our class. So that's AP Lite, where you could do all of it on your own. So that is more like a self-paced program. Then we have an AP one-on-one and group program. The program is completely same. The only difference is one-on-one is customized to your requirement, your time slots, and so on. Group happens at a particular time. So our program will start next month, almost about mid of October. It'll be a 7 to 8 month program, which will run until May. There'll be one session every week, which is a 2-hour long session. So 2-hour session every week per subject is what we offer. At the end of each unit, so we have divided the entire syllabus into multiple units. At the end of each unit, there are assignments that you need to do. At the end of each unit, there are unit tests that you need to do, which help us to figure out how much you have improved and where you need to work on. Our objective is to finish the syllabus by 15th of March, and post that the last 2 months are purely kept for doing the full length mock test. That's how the overall program works. Any student who is signing up for one-on-one or group program also get the online self-paced course, which is available for them to go and relook at the concept videos, the recordings, and so on at any point of time, even if in case they have missed any session. So it is a 7-month aggressive program that one has to follow. We are looking at almost about 3 to 4 hours of commitment per subject every week if you are looking to do this program. If you need more details, feel free to reach out to us on a one-on-one basis. I think I will be sharing the numbers at the last. Feel free to call us up and set up a one-on-one. Happy to discuss in terms of what are the right APs for the child. Additionally, how we can help you there. These are the list of subjects that we do offer at this point of time under ReWiser. So we pretty much cover almost all the sciences and the maths. Additionally, from the humanities, we also cover micro, macro, psychology. I think there are 1 or 2 which are not here in the list. We also covered AP World History in addition to this, and AP English language is something that we also cover. So these are the APs that we do at this point of time. With that, I think I have covered everything that I wanted to discuss. I would like to open the forum for Q&As. I already see there are a lot of questions in the chat section. Please feel free to put it up question in the chat, and happy to take those. Okay, great. So I think let's start taking questions. The first question is from Farzana, but I think Farzana is not even here. Good morning. If IB students have HL in their subject, should they opt for any other subject for AP? Please advise. IB students have HL in their subject. Should they opt for any other subject for AP? Please advise. I'm not sure if I have understood your question correctly. So I think, I could, okay, I see you have one more question. For IB student, if they are taking HL in school, so for AP, they should opt for subject other than HL. Okay, now I got your question. Correct. So for Farzana, ideally, yes, because you should not do an AP and an HL in the same subject. That would not make sense, because for HL, you are anyways getting college credit, and HL is always considered to be a higher level. So you anyways, by doing an HL, by virtue of doing an HL, you are anyway showing that you're doing a difficult curriculum, right? So I don't think you need to do, you have to pick up an AP subject. If you are an IB student, it becomes a lot more complicated in terms of how you need to pick up those subjects. For example, I've met a lot of parents, let's say, I'm sure you must be aware that you can't take 3 sciences, right? So what they end up doing is they probably take 2 science here and maybe do third one in the APs if they want to show it. Or in some cases, they want to do the sciences, but now they can't do computer science because it falls under the same basket. Then what they end up doing is they end up doing computer science as an AP. So there are different ways. And hence I said, it depends on what is your ultimate major that you want to do. And based on that, you need to work backwards to figure out which is the right AP. I hope I've answered that question, Farzana. Another question from Mr. KK. Does AP add value to IB student, and how soon can the kids start preparing for AP? I hope I've answered this question. This was asked way early in the presentation. I hope I've answered both these questions now. Another question from Ranchana Gar. Which AP exams are needed for doing bachelor in computer engineering in US? Again, I think I've answered this question, Ranchana, already. I think the question was asked way earlier. But if there is any follow-up question, please feel free to put it up again. Zoom user, can you share the list of AP available in India? Can we retake AP like SAT for better scores? To answer the first question, yes, we can share the list of AP available in India. You can also go to AP College Board website and you'll be able to find the entire list because it keeps getting updated, and hence we don't sort of put it up on the presentation. Second, can we retake AP like SAT? Yes, you can definitely retake APs like SAT. The only thing is it happens only once a year. So if you have not done well this year, you can only take it next year. That's the only problem. Another question from Mr. Gagan, from Gagan Preet, will you please share this presentation? Yes, so we are doing a recording of this. We will not be sharing the presentation, but we will definitely be sharing the recording of this presentation. If in case you have registered, you all will get a mail from our side, which will have the recording of today's presentation. Can one do AP Calculus BC without doing Calculus AB, and which grade can this be done in? Again from Mr. KK. Yes, Mr. KK, you are absolutely right. You can do BC without even doing AB, because when you do BC, you actually get 2 score. You get a score for BC, you also get a sub score for AB. So actually by doing BC, you end up doing both indirectly, because AB is just a subset of BC. In which grade can this be done in? I generally recommend doing this in grade 11 and not earlier than that, because AP Calculus is not an easy AP, right? So, and in most of the cases, you would not have the basics to do this earlier than grade 11. So I would recommend do it only after, do it in grade 11th. Another question from Sangeeta, how much do they cost? Not sure if you're asking our pricing or the exam pricing. Exam pricing is roughly about 15,000. 15,000 per subject is what you need to pay to register for these courses. Another question from Shweta, can you please share some good study material sources for AP for arts and humanities? Shweta, there's no one place where you can go and find AP material resources. Hence, unfortunately, that's the reality. One is obviously you can go to the College Board website on the AP itself. They have shared the free response questions. So at least you can get the last 10, 15, 20 years free response question from their official website itself. Unfortunately, you don't have enough material for the MCQ questions. So that is a tough one to get. But you can try and, if you want to do it on your own, you can try and go on to Reddit and figure out. There are a few places where you might be able to find some other resources. Another question from KK, for grade 9 student completing grade 9 by June 2024, when should he be writing the AP exam? KK, as I said, this child could write it in May 24, May 25, May 26. These are the 3 years when this child could plan to write APs. But since you have also asked the calculus question, he or she should only be doing it calculus in 26 cycle, right? May 26 cycle. May 24, if this child wants to write something, it should be a slightly lighter subject, and that could depend on the major that the child wants to do. Another question from Dr. Shruti. Thanks for sharing all the insight. Do share the point of contact details. Shruti, if you see it on the screen, there are 3 numbers. The first one is mine. The second and the second number is my admissions team person, Mr. Ritvik. So please feel free to reach out on the second number, 7989764083. The third number is our admission person from Dubai. Anybody who's from Dubai, please feel free to reach out to Mr. Sharad directly on his number. The numbers are available on the screen, Shruti. I hope you're able to get the numbers. Another question from Sangeeta. IBHL can also take AP. Will they get extra additional credits? Yes, IBHL can also take AP. No, they will not get any extra credits. It's the same credit that you will get. You can't take both credit. You can pick either of the 2, whichever one is higher. Another question from Monish. Are any AP courses for finance and accounting? I'm in AS. Yes, Monish, right? So there are a lot of, so there is microeconomics, there is macroeconomics, there is statistics. So there are a lot of AP courses. The AP courses are not directly linked to one particular major, right? You need to figure out which are relevant to the major that you're looking for, and hence to these APs. Another question from Pankaj. What are the AP choice for economics major student? Again, Pankaj, as I said, it'll all depend on child is in which grade, what curriculum are they doing. But in general advice, if you're asking, microeconomics, macroeconomics, statistics, AP calculus, these are the 4 subjects that I would recommend for any student who's looking for economics as a major. Another question from Vrinda. I missed the first 15 minutes of the webinar. Can you please provide the recording? Definitely, Vrinda. If you have registered and we have your email ID, you will definitely get a recording from our side by end of the day today. Another question from RJ. Can a child start preparing AP from class 9? Which one for class 9 who's dropped science in ISC curriculum? EVS, Maths, English, Hindi, Social Science are his subjects. His final major in college is Finance Business. What are our charges? Okay, pretty detailed question. Aji, I would request if you can set up a call with one of my team member. They might be able to help you out in detail. But like on a very, very high level, grade 9 student, and you said finance and business, very similar to economics, macro statistics, AP calculus, AP physics. These are the subjects that I would recommend, out of which you need to pick which is the right one. In grade 9, I would say pick the easier one, maybe microeconomics. That's a slightly easier one. Don't pick anything related to maths and physics. The child may not be handle it at this point of time. So I would say maybe pick one in grade 9, one in grade 10. Like for example, microeconomics, one, statistics second year, and then in grade 11 you pick up 2. So that way you'll be done with 4. Okay, what are our charges? So it varies from program to program, Aji. For one-on-one, there's a different charge. For group, for light. Again, as I said, feel free to please contact us. Happy to share all those informations across the mail. Another question from Arushi: which AP test should one take if they want to do aeronautics engineering in USA? Again, I can give generic advice, Arushi. I would prefer to have more details before I give it. But aeronautics, very similar to, let's say, closest to mechanical. So AP calculus, AP physics, again, all engineering is very, very similar. So AP calculus, AP physics is something that I would always recommend. You can also pick up chemistry if you want to. You could also look at statistics if you want to, or do one more in physics because you're looking at aeronautics. And the question from Miss Meenu: can we take only one subject in AP, or is there minimum subject? My kid is doing math and sciences, math HL and physics chem. Math, physics, chem. Okay. Maths and physics HL, chem SL. First question, Meenu: yes, you can take only one. There is no minimum subject limit for APs. You can just do one AP if you want to. I think that's the question that you had asked. Okay. Another question from Nikki: ideally, how many APs are impressive to apply for prestigious colleges? The more you do, the better it is, Nikki. But as I said, don't compromise your school grades. That they are super important, right? It all depends on how many can you manage on your own. I think that is super important. Another question on Zoom user: for medical major, what APs are suggested? Biology, psychology, chemistry. These are the few APs that you should be looking at if you're looking at medical major. I'm sure you're aware there's nothing like a medical. Let's say in US, you have to do pre-med first. And the question from Aditya: in case of multiple attempts, do universities look at the best score or the latest scores? Great question. It all depends on, you will have to send the scores. Now, the problem here is, let's say you wrote 2 exams this year. You got 5-on-5 in one and 2-on-5 in another. This 2-on-5 one you wrote again. And next time you got a 3-on-5 or a 4-on-5 or a 5-on-5. The thing is, when you're sending this year's score, you cannot select which subject score you want to send. Both subjects will go together. You cannot hide those scores, Aditya. That's one of the problem in AP. Are any AP exam conducted in December? No, AP exams are only conducted in the month of May. Nikki, you mentioned something about cost 15K. Please elaborate on this. Nothing, Nikki, this is the cost for the exam. Registration cost for the exam, which goes to the college board, right? So when you register for an exam, you have to pay 15,000. It's an exam fees. Rati, my son wants to do physics honors, says in grade 10th ICSC. Okay, Rati, I think you have not put in your question. Okay, I can see which AP he should give. Okay, I think that more details I would have preferred, but AP mechanics, AP physics, E&M, AP calculus, BC. So I think these are the 3 APs. Plus, since the child is in grade 10, then he might have time. I would say maybe pick one more, which is more on the humanities front, right? Maybe psychology, maybe world history. Are calculators allowed in AP, SAT, and AST? Arushi, yes, calculators are allowed in all of these exams, but depending on different sections again. Pankaj, is AP Psychology a good choice for economics major? AP Psychology is a good choice for any major, Pankaj. It's just that, I mean, remember why you are doing it, right? I think so. It's largely to showcase to the college that the child is also good at humanities side of it, right? So that's the objective. You may not even get college credit for AP Psychology, right? So I think it all depends on what is the purpose of doing it. Ajay, I didn't get your question. AP, EVS question mark. Yes, you can do AP environmental sciences as environmental sciences as well. Can you please repeat that for grade 9th? Microeconomics in grade 9, then as my son has taken eco and maths from grade 9. I'm not sure if I've understood the question. KK. Again, if it is specific to the child, please feel free to contact team, and they'll be able to probably give you a better recommendation. Another question from Annie Robin: how many APs are recommended usually? There is nothing as such, and if you can try and think about doing 4 or 3, because 3 gets you scholar and 4 makes you honors. But if you can't, I mean, don't do it at the expense of your school academics. Again, I've been saying the same thing. Only do it if you can manage it. Monish, which AP do you recommend for major in finance? I think I've answered this question. Somebody had asked this. Vaishali, do you tutor for AP French? No, Vaishali, we don't do AP French. Ajay, do you have expertise for AP EVS? We don't do AP EVS right now, Ajay. Can I request people to be on mute, please? Yeah, thanks. Aditya, thank you for answering my question. Thanks, Aditya. Another question from Sangeeta. In case of multiple attempts, do universities look at the best score or the latest? Repeat this, please. Okay, so let me repeat it. So, Sangeeta, let's say if you write a particular, let's say you write 2 APs this year. In one, you got 515, and another one, you got 215. Now, you want to, next year, you will repeat this 215 exam, and you got a 415. But the problem is, when you're sending, you can't pick and choose which subject score you want to send when. You are sending the score for this year attempt, next year attempt. So this year attempt, one is good, one is bad, both will go to the college. You cannot not share one test score. It is okay if you have done only one test this year and that test has not gone well, then you can skip that entire year ka scores, right? But if in case you have done one more test in the same year, then you can't do it, right? I hope that makes sense. How much do AP help in exchange program, Shweta? APs has nothing to do with exchange program, Shweta. So both are completely, non-intersection. Perfect. I think I've covered all the questions which are here in the chat section. As I said, please feel free to reach out. The numbers are there on the in front of you. The first number is mine, the second is Ritvik's, the third is Sharath. Please feel free to reach out to them for any help. Okay, I got a couple of more questions. Let me take those. Nikki, I'm in IB grade 10. My choice is medicine. What APs are recommended? Nikki, as I said, I would request you to please put in a message, reach out to the team. Otherwise, it'll become difficult to sort of give the one-on-one recommendation, because there are multiple other information that we will have to have, right? We need to understand your AP subject, IB subjects, and so on. Mayank, you said AP available only in May. If taking more than one subject, will they fall on different dates? Definitely, Mayank, they will fall on different dates. If in case they're falling on the same date, as I said, there's a late testing in the May itself. Like, in the first 2 weeks, there's regular testing, and then there's a late testing towards the last 2 weeks. So yes, they will, you will not have to face that issue. Arushi, Arushi, same thing. I would recommend you to please connect with somebody from the team. They'll be able to help you better, because we need more information to answer specific recommendation. Oh, interesting question from Annie Robin. Is it better to take ACT than to take AP environmental science? ACT and APs are completely two different things. They are not this or this, they are and. It's ACT or SAT, right? So between SAT or ACT, you have to pick one. They are similar exams, right? Which are testing your English and math skills. So it's SAT or ACT, but with APs, it has nothing to do with SAT, ACT. So it's SAT or ACT and APs are separate. I hope that answers the question. So please don't mix the ACT with the APs. They're completely two different exams. Are AP credit considered in Canada? Yes. Yes. AP credits are considered in Canada as well, even in UK for that matter. Great. I think we have answered all the question. Okay, there's one more. How much time is needed to prepare one AP? So it is, as I said, we generally recommend that you need at least about 100-120 hours of your prep to prepare for one AP. Now you can distribute it across 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. That's something that depends on you. But generally, that's the time commitment that we are looking at from your side. How are they calculated? It varies from university to university. There is no standard formula. You'll have to go to that particular university, and for that particular university, they will have their own algorithm for each APs. Even in US, that's how it is. It's not standard that for a particular subject you will get this many credit. It all varies from college to college. Okay, another question from Ajit, but this is same question as Annie Robin. Is it better to take ACT than to take AP Environmental Science? I think I've answered that question, Ajit. Perfect. Great. I think these are all the questions. Once again, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I hope it was a useful session. I hope you had your doubts cleared about APs. If in case there are something which is individual, personal to the student, I would request you to reach out, have a conversation one-on-one and get your doubts clear. The objective was to help you understand what these APs are. Should you be writing it? Should you not be writing it? When should you be writing it? I hope those answers are clarified. Okay, I have got another question. Do the AP have a proper syllabus? Definitely, Ajay. APs have a very, very standard syllabus. Again, you can go to the AP College Board website and you will find the syllabus for each and every subject. They give it in very, very detail. Great. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in. It was a pleasure having you guys here on a Saturday morning. Wish you a lovely weekend. Thank you.